Story 1. Social media are detrimental to society, as is everything that provides instant gratification all the time. And yes, I am perfectly aware of the irony. Story 2. There is no reason that, in America, a citizen should have to pay to register their vehicle more than once. If you move, have a name change, or buy a new car, these are things that I could understand having to re-register, but the state of it now is a revolving subscription to drive the car you purchased on the roads you pay for with your taxes. This situation is nuts. Story 3. Common courtesy is given. Respect is earned. I don't have to respect every random person, but I should give them the common courtesy of not being rude. Story 4. By any reasonable interpretation of the term, the British treatment of the Irish was genocide. When you are aware that your policies are killing millions and forcing the survivors to flee halfway around the world, and you keep these policies in place, you lose the benefit of the doubt there. Story 5. I do not swap seats on planes for anything less than an upgrade or a significant amount of cash. I pay money to select my seats, choose them in advance, and manage to snag good ones. I put in time, effort, and money. I am simply not giving it up. I am certainly not going to play unite the couple. I do not care about your kids, your situation, your comfort, your veteran status, your pregnancy, your disability, your age, or your problem. Plan ahead, pay the money, and get the seats you want. If you got unlucky with airline seating issues or missed connections, it's unfortunate. Be grateful you have a seat at all. I have learned over years of frequent flying that no good deed goes unpunished. Most people are dishonest. They seek to improve their situation at the cost of yours, and calls to do it to be nice or for karma are nothing but the last refuge for people who have no argument left with any merit. No, they are not all the same. And yes, it matters. Please stop. Story 6. Citizens United is the worst ruling that has ever been declared. Corporations should never be able to give private donations to government officials. Story 7. Get out of the left lane if you are not passing. Cruising in the passing lane creates traffic. You are inconsiderate if you cruise in the passing lane. Why do people drive mindlessly? You are operating a multi-ton vehicle. Actively drive. Pay attention to your speed and the people around you. Story 8. If you do not return your shopping cart to the store or the carousel, you do not deserve rights. The cars and motorcycle I spend my hard-earned money on should not get damaged because you are too lazy to walk 50 feet and secure the cart you used. If you are disabled, then someone from the store should be helping you at your car and returning the cart for you. Story 9. Sex offenders are as bad or worse than murderers. They don't just destroy one person. They destroy families and futures. They often prey on people who can't or won't report them, and the repercussions are horrific. It's tragic how one predator can end up creating more predators and more victims exponentially. Truly a heartbreaking cycle, and I feel like it's not being improved nearly as much as it should be. Story 10. Masculinity podcasts are a complete waste of time. It's nothing more than a bunch of corny young and old men pretending to be what they think is an alpha male. It's pathetic, and it's not getting you any type of attention. Story 11. Your happiness matters just as much as hers. Stop that happy wife, happy life nonsense. You are conditioning yourself to be a slave to her happiness and putting yours aside. That's going to cause a ton of resentment, and she'll just move on after draining the life out of you. Story 12. Do not physically confront anyone you are not prepared to get punched in the face by. You never know the other person's stance on beating you up. You could be a 5-foot-tall woman screaming at a guy who is 6'4". You do not know for sure what he thinks about hitting women. Just consider that. Yeah, he might be a piece of shit for hitting you, but is it worth a trip to the emergency room to find that out? Story 13. Listen. I enjoy ketchup. I will use ketchup in certain circumstances to good effect. However, ketchup is a garbage condiment used to make mediocre food palatable in most cases. Story 14. Friendships, especially best friends, with people of the opposite gender while married, engaged, or dating are completely fine. This has caused issues in some of my past relationships, but my stance has always been to accept it or move on. Story 15. AI is not good. Firstly, I am not in the group that believes artificial intelligence will become sentient and kill everyone. That seems unlikely to happen. I think what's more likely is it will automate away jobs that people today enjoy and make a living from. For example, being an artist. Story 16. If you want to be either a government official or a member of law enforcement, you cannot have been convicted of any crime whatsoever, and committing any crime whatsoever will immediately and permanently end your career in that field. I've seen too many videos of police officers abusing their power, and then here they are put on administrative leave or were suspended. It should get them fired. At no point can you ever become a police officer again, since you clearly cannot be trusted with the power that is given to you. The same applies to government officials. If you are found guilty of corruption, scandals, or any wrongdoing, you will immediately be fired and are not allowed to hold any kind of office ever again. A country should be led by the best that country has to offer. Nothing less than that. Story 17. America is literally everything it claims to be against, and if you dare to point that out, patriots with Stockholm Syndrome tell you to just leave if you don't like it. Story 18. Sports gambling being legal will damage 1. Sports forever, and 2. Be bad for society in general. All talk about sports now is just how much people have on what game, player, or parlay. If people thought sports were rigged in whatever way before, there's so much more money on it now. Also, gambling is a legitimate addiction. People are consumed by it. Even when places like DraftKings advertise, they have to include information about gambling addiction services. In another 10 years, it's going to be a nightmare. Story 19. We have been slacking on simple common courtesies. Things like holding doors for people are underrated. It promotes a simple societal exchange that I find enlightens people's moods ever so slightly. Courteous act. Oh, thanks, man. No problem. Is pleasant in its simplicity, and I find it compounds with repetition. Story 20. Pellet grills are inferior and make subpar barbecue in every way, shape, and form. Magic mushrooms are medicine and should be shared. Thai food is the best cuisine on the planet. Story 21. People should be nice to each other. It feels like being mean or even just apathetic is a show of strength. People see the only way to success is by stepping on others and are always looking to put others down. I think if people were kinder, empathetic, and made an effort to help others around them, we would be in a much better place. I'm not saying we would all be rich and successful by the common measures. I mean, we would be happier in life and more content living with our fellow human beings. Story 22. Stereotypes exist for a reason. You can and should be able to accept criticism of things and people you like. People do not know 95% of what they think they know. Story 23. People found to have made a false claim of a criminal act, abuse, or similar allegations that lead to an individual getting jail time, and then admitting or being proven to have made a false claim, should be given an amount of jail time equal to the duration the individual spent until release. Time is the one currency you cannot get back, and having yours stolen because of the malicious whim of another should have equal ramifications and have an equal amount of time taken from them. Story 24. Healthcare is a basic human right. The healthcare industry and healthcare insurance industry are criminals colluding to exploit the American public, taking our money and, most importantly, our health and our ability to live. Story 25. A lot of people will claim that cappuccino is called as such due to the espresso being mixed with milk to match the color of the Capuchin monk's robes. I find that explanation to be boring and cringeworthy. Firstly, I see no reason why that would be the case. This color could just as easily be described as leathery or light brown, or it could be compared to someone's shoe, someone's horse, or Victor Emmanuel Two-Speared. The comparison and implication that the name of the drink is derived from these monks' robes seem entirely arbitrary. Secondly, cappuccinos are lighter than the robe worn by Capuchin monks. These robes do exist in a lightish brown but are much more common as a dark, chocolatey brown, which is still on display today at the Capuchin crypt in Rome. Thirdly, Capuchin monks got their name because cappuccio in Old Italian means hood, cloak, or cowl, Latin, cappa, and the monks wore hooded robes. As such, it was a way to describe them because that was the main recognizable attribute of their dress. Similarly, the distinguishing feature of a cappuccino, as opposed to another similar drink like a cafe latte, is that the cappuccino has a layer of milk foam on top of the drink, so the milk foam effectively acts as a hood to the drink. Wikipedia mentions that it is, in fact, not from the hood, but the color of the robe. And the only source cited for this is Merriam-Webster, who don't cite their sources. They just merely state, yeah, it was because of the color. Aside from this, every source I could find says which supposedly resembles. So to me, this strikes as one of those mistakes that are swept up in the internet's favorite game, the erroneous footnote copy-paste bonanza. So instead of the name stemming from a simple off-color comparison, would it not make more sense that the name stems from the characteristic that distinguishes it from other drinks, which funnily, shockingly, and coincidentally also is rooted in the name's own etymology? Story 26. Americans can't own land. They just rent it. Depending on the state they live in, they may have to pay rent to two different agencies. If you don't pay, they take your land away and rent it to someone else. Story 27. Another point is that violent video games do not create mass shooters or overly violent people. There are many different factors that contribute to this. Simply blaming video games is not a valid argument. Story 28. Mutual respect and support from our wives. Boyfriends have always been portrayed as fun, spontaneous, and sexy. Husbands and fathers are portrayed as lazy, stupid, unclean, and incapable of coherent thought. Let's not talk about things like raising a child or opinions. Story 29. Gun control in the United States is entirely counterintuitive. There are more firearms than people. As a matter of fact, I would argue that the current gun control we have, such as Federal Bureau of Investigation background checks and prosecution of gun crime, are the two main deterrents. The frequently deferred prosecution of repeat violent firearm offenders is the actual issue of gun violence in the United States, because why would a violent, impulsive criminal be deterred when they never have to stay in prison? Story 30. Old women are to blame for the existence of nice guys. The guys themselves are obviously the ones responsible for how far they take it. But it's old women with the constant, "Oh, how do you not have a girlfriend? You're so nice," who put the idea that niceness is what women actually want in their heads in the first place, setting them on that path. Story 31. Mental illness, although an explanation, is not a free pass for the destruction caused to everyone affected by the decisions made, even if by a sick mind. This is coming from me, someone who suffers from a diagnosed group of mental issues. You can be a person with no ill will in a sober or healthy mind, but that doesn't discount anyone who is a victim of the circumstance. A tornado doesn't have ill intentions, but it can still harm thousands. Story 32. You are being lied to. I do not care where you get your news or how you consume it. They are lying to you to push some sort of agenda. Every single news source in the world is entirely dependent on viewers, web visits, and so on. So they sell you what you want. If you think the most powerful country in the world being run by an old man with dementia is just fine, I do not. I guess that is the hill I will die on. Story 33. No child is transgender. They have not gone through the cognitive development to fully understand the implications of making a permanent decision over a temporary feeling. Story 34. Personal. Rogue One is an underrated Star Wars film that bridges old school to new school seamlessly. Because of this, it is one of the best Star Wars films. Professional. All these creative businesses, entertainment, art, music, etc., need to adopt a co-ownership mentality. One business-minded, but artistic background, leader and one actively working artist who is in the space they are selling to. Art is subjective, but so many chief executive officers and entrepreneurs are out of touch with what art is that they treat the people and product as exploitable and expendable. If you want art to flourish or any business, invest in the people, then product, then overhead. Story 35. Social media should just be called other people's nonsense. Also, people in open relationships are plentiful nowadays, and they are very proud of it. No hate, just not my thing. Story 36. Disney Star Wars is not Star Wars. Daisy should have been Bastila Shan. The girl from Rogue One, Jaina Solo. Adam Driver, Jason Solo. Throw a few new characters in there like Mr. Boyega just to keep it a little different, but do not alter entire plot lines. The only good Star Wars they have made is Andor. I do not know where they got those writers, but they need to fire everyone else, Filoni included, and put those guys in charge with a stack of books from the expanded universe next to them. I would love to see the Yuuzhan Vong on the big screen one day. Story 37. I hate that everything now has a screen, from coffee makers to everything else. Even cars now have a giant screen. It's stupid and cannot be good for the eyes and just feels forced. Why does a fridge need a screen? Story 38. Companies that hide behind their phone labyrinths, where the only person able to help is never available, and promise to call you back but never do, deserve all of our hate. Story 39. Talking on the phone is better for conversations than text messaging. The thing is, I am also really bad at texting engaging conversations but can do okay on the phone. Story 40. The world is not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Most of you all are just lazy and not trying hard enough. And I do not mean trying 24/7, I just mean many of you are barely even trying basic things. Try harder. Story 41. That personal responsibility appears to have died as a concept in the West, and until it returns, nothing will improve. The unfortunate element of this is that some people will need safety nets removed to acknowledge this is happening, and some would become much worse off through it.